depending on your individual genetics, if you are a slow or fast metabolizer of caffeine, you might have different effects as far as how it affects performance, as well as how it affects your health. What's up, guys? So I just got home from work, and if I'm dressed professionally like this, I must know what I'm talking about. So let's dive into today's topic, which is going to be supplements. So we're going to start off with performance-related supplements. That's probably the main reason you guys clicked on the video, and so that's what most people are going to be interested in. So we're going to get into that and what I feel is actually useful for performance enhancement. So the first ones are not going to be new to almost any of you, right? We got the standard creatine, caffeine, and I would put citrulline in that kind of tier, that first tier of supplements. We have a ton of research behind these. Creatine is probably the most studied supplement in this sphere. So we have here, I really need to get sponsored by Bulk Supplements, but we have some creatine monohydrate here. And then as far as caffeine, I don't take caffeine really at all. I will occasionally have some coffee. I think coffee is probably fine for most people. 2 cups of coffee, about 200 milligrams of caffeine, and that's gonna help most people. And now a lot of studies will see 400 to 600 milligrams of caffeine to show a significant effect. I think that's kind of a lot if you're taking that, if you're working out 4 or 5 days a week and you're taking 400, 500, 600 milligrams of caffeine every time you work out. For some people, that is going to be a lot. Now, I know some people are doing that every day regardless, and then on their workout days, they're adding more on top of that. They're having a pre-workout, they're having a monster. I do think you can run into some longer term issues with that. There's even more research recently showing that depending on your individual genetics, if you are a slow or fast metabolizer of caffeine, you might have different effects as far as how it affects performance, as well as how it affects your health. And so if you look at people who take a lot of caffeine long term, they do have some cardiac issues occasionally. And so that's something I would be wary of. But it is an effective supplement for sure. As far as dosing for creatine, certainly you can go through the loading phase. And again, a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this already. If you go through a loading phase, 10, 15, 20 grams of creatine per day for up to a week, that will lead to saturated levels more quickly, but it's really unnecessary. It causes a lot of side effects for some people, some GI distress. So you really take as low as 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 grams of creatine per day. Now, this is from a muscle saturation standpoint, and most people find of normal size find that 3 or 4 grams of creatine per day is sufficient to get maximal saturation, okay? So I personally take about 4 grams per day, and I think that that's been fine. Now, I actually don't notice an effect from creatine. There's something like 30% of people find that they don't really notice much from creatine. And I think to some degree that has to do with genetics, to some degree that has to do with what your diet is like. So if you are a vegan or vegetarian, you're more likely to benefit from creatine than if you were somebody who is on a carnivore diet where you probably won't see any benefit. So why do I take it? Well, one, because it's such a cheap supplement that maybe I'm just not noticing the effects. Maybe something is going on that I'm just not noticing. Number two, because creatine is not just for hypertrophy and strength. There is research that has been done by Dr. Darren Kando and others that have shown other benefits to creatine. And he's even said that we don't know, maybe even a higher dose can be helpful for something like that, for brain health and things like that. So, 5 to even 8 grams per day might be beneficial. So I figure it's so cheap, it doesn't really cause almost anybody's side effects. And it's been even shown, there was controversy, does it actually harm your kidneys? There's other research that shows that actually it can maybe even help your kidneys. And so it's something that I'm comfortable taking and is one of the top recommended supplements, again, along with caffeine, which can certainly lead to acute benefits to your performance. One other supplement that I kind of put in that tier is l-citrulline. So some people just take it as l-citrulline, some people take it as citrulline malate. Some people enjoy the taste of it, especially if you mix it with like a lemonade or something like that. It kind of has like a sour taste to it. There is research now showing benefits to taking citrulline for those who are looking for performance and hypertrophy benefits. The one thing that I bring up all the time though, and I think is probably the most important thing when looking at these supplements, is how much is it actually helping you long term? I've never been a big supplement person, even though I take a lot, and we're going to go through other ones that I take. It's really just the cherry on top. And for a lot of people, I don't think it's going to matter that much. This is one of those things you see people talk about, well, I do this, this, and this is why I'm so far ahead of everybody else. And it's like, dude, but like half of what you're doing is superfluous, okay? It's not really adding to anything. And so there's a million supplements out there that literally do nothing. These are supplements that can definitely help you and have been shown to help you in a number of studies. But the question I always ask, and I've said this on my podcast a few times, is this actually going to lead to an increased rate of progress long term so that 10 years from now, and again, I've shown this exact example before where it's like, okay, this would be your progress. And if you have a parallel line going next to it, but it's, let's say, plus 5 pounds on your bench, plus 10 pounds on your bench. So you have two lines just kind of going up together in tandem. Alternatively, if you have something that is, okay, maybe it's going to increase your rate of progress by 2%, but it's going to do that year after year and compound, well, then that's fantastic. And that could actually put you in a much greater position down the road. My personal belief is it's probably more like the former. I doubt that any of these supplements are increasing the rate of progress year after year after year. I would imagine that if you had two twins and they lifted for 10 years each, and then one of them had creatine throughout the whole 10 years, and the other one took creatine just in the last year, I think they would be pretty much identical at that point, and I don't know if you'd get long-term benefits. That doesn't mean don't take it. If you can have that progress and that extra 10 pounds on your bench or extra quarter inch on your arms for the 10 years, great. Why not get that? But I don't know if from that standpoint it's helping. Now, from a health standpoint, if it's actually improving the function, let's say, of an organ or something, then that I think could be cumulative over time, and that could be helpful. So next tier down from that for performance, you have some things like beta-alanine. This is something that has been shown to be beneficial for those doing more high rep and endurance work. For most people in the bodybuilding sphere, it's probably not going to be that helpful. Maybe if you're doing super high volumes, it could be helpful, but for most, I don't think it's going to be helpful. I think some people like it because they feel it working, right? You get a tingling sensation, and so they feel like it's doing something, but I don't think most people are going to notice much of a benefit unless you're doing very high reps or, again, endurance activity, where I do think it has application. Another one that I think Eric Trexler talks about a lot is beetroot juice. And there's speculation there as to how significant that is. And they talk about the mechanism being through increased nitrates. And would that add on top of, let's say, like an l-citrulline, right? Or previously, a lot of people took L-arginine. It was found that citrulline increased blood levels of arginine even more than arginine itself. And so would something like a beetroot juice add on top of that and give you an extra effect? I would say for these, if you have the extra money, you want to try it out for a couple months, see if there's a benefit. But I would definitely put that as a second tier. Now, as far as performance goes and hypertrophy, that's pretty much the list. There are so many supplements that come out. A lot of them are just variations of the same thing, right? If you look at most of the pre-workouts, they are different amounts of everything I just said here. Sometimes they will throw in some other ingredients. Sometimes there's some other stimulant that they throw in. You've seen things like, even back in the day, like ephedrine was put in some of these things, and DMAA. So they will put other products in there, but for the most part, these are what are going to give you the bulk of the results. We really don't have that much beyond that. HMB had some stuff talked about for a while, and then it seemed like that data was really fabricated. So these are the ones that I would say you're probably not wasting your money. The other ones, I'd be really hesitant, unless there's just a pre-workout that you just really like the taste of, or you just really feel it for one reason or another. So from there, we will dive into the health supplements. Now, I actually do believe in health supplements, however, not to the extreme. I don't want to call the person out, but I just saw somebody say today on Instagram that they said exercise will help any ailment more than any drug, which I just think is like so ridiculous and on the other side of things. So I'm not somebody who says, hey, you know what, in medicine, we just have to push all the drugs. And I really don't like that mindset. I don't like the mindset that nothing natural can help and we have to push towards drugs. I would say, get your exercise, get your nutrition handled, get your sleep, life stress, supplements, and if nothing's working, go towards some stronger medications. But to say that, for instance, any drug is going to be inferior to exercise for any ailment, it's just obviously so ridiculous. So, if you don't wrap it up and you get chlamydia, make sure you just go for some sprints, because that's all you're going to need. So as far as health supplements that I think are actually worthwhile, one of the top ones that I would say, and I got bunch over here. I also have a bunch of supplements that I've maybe tried, didn't notice anything. So one is curcumin. So curcumin has many studies on it. It has been shown to have an anti-inflammatory effect, has been shown to benefit the heart, liver, kidneys, a lot of different things. And again, you can't trust every study. We need meta-analyses, but curcumin is one that I do believe in. If you were to just take traditional curcumin, there's not a great absorption. So that can actually be helpful if you're taking it for GI issues, because that's actually where you want it. But for the most part, curcumin should be in a formulation that has increased digestibility. So first, that was with black pepper. You'll see that as piperine in a lot of supplements that increase absorption. This is called biocurcumin, just another turmeric extract. There are a number of them out there. Mariva is another one that is popular, and so I would look into that. But that is one that I really do think has some potent anti-inflammatory effects and can be helpful. Another one top here that a lot of people have heard about, of course, fish oil, omega-3s. In recent years, there's been some controversial data about that, basically saying that it might not be effective. It was touted as this heart supplement that was super important that everybody should have. And then some data has shown that actually it didn't really have that benefit. The thing you have to consider, though, is that we have dozens and dozens and dozens of studies showing that it is beneficial. There was a recent study, a pretty big trial that showed, the REDUCED trial, that showed that 4 grams of EPA had a very significant cardiac benefit. Now, other studies have shown that that is not the case. But I would say when you look at the conglomerate of data, we have sufficient data to show that there are cardiac benefits and also brain benefits and other benefits in the body. And so it's not something, certainly like triglyceride lowering is one that has been shown time and time again. So it's not something that I would ignore. I don't think there's going to be many, if any, side effects for most people. And it's a relatively cheap supplement. As far as dosing, that one can be a little tricky. Some people will recommend mega dosing. 4 grams of pure EPA is quite a lot, but that was shown to be effective in the one trial. Others will have, that's one of the issues with some of these trials is when they say that there's no benefits. It's like, okay, well, you gave them 800 milligrams of fish oil, which is almost nothing really. And these were people who were already eating, let's say, salmon 2 times a week or something. Well, yeah, it's not like you take more and more and it's just going to continue to give you more benefit. If you're already eating fish several times a week, you might not need to take it. Now, some people would argue against that. Some people are really big omega-3 fans. I think it's something that you should have sufficient levels, and if you can get that in your diet, great. Most people are probably not going to have significant amounts of salmon multiple times a week, and that's when I would say a fish oil supplement's helpful. And again, potential anti-inflammatory benefits, potential brain benefits, potential cardiac benefits. So that's, again, those two are ones I definitely recommend. Next, we have vitamin D. Many people are deficient in vitamin D. I would actually say most people are deficient in vitamin D. Depending on the research you look at, somewhere between 1,000 to 5,000 IUs is usually what's recommended. I take 5,000 IUs. It's pretty simple to just get a blood test. So I would just say, get a blood test if you think you might be low, if you're not getting outside all the time, if you're in an area that there isn't a lot of sun. My levels were down to 17. Ideal, well, the range is 30 to 100. I think ideal for most people is 40 to 60. 5,000 IUs per day puts me at about 45 very consistently. There was one time where I forgot to take it for a couple of weeks, and I didn't even realize I ran out, and I just kind of never refilled it. And I noticed on my blood work that my levels were down to about 28, and that was within about 1 to 2 weeks of not taking it. So I was like, okay, I guess I've been forgetting it, added it back in, levels are back up to, around 45. So it's a cheap supplement, and it's one that most people would benefit from. There's a lot of data supporting that. Another one that I would put up there for a lot of people, especially as you age, is ubiquinol. So that is one other one that I take. Ubiquinol is basically, there's ubiquinol and then there's ubiquinone. Ubiquinone is CoQ10. That has been shown to not be absorbed as much. And so it used to be said that if you were below 30 or so, you're fine with taking CoQ10, but when you're older, you should take ubiquinol for better absorption. Well, even when I was significantly younger, I did my own blood tests, and I found that when I was taking the same dose of CoQ10 or ubiquinol, even with a washout period, my blood levels were something like 3 times higher on ubiquinol. And actually, the CoQ10 I was taking was a formulation that supposedly was supposed to be better absorbed than regular CoQ10. And even with that being the case, whether or not it was the case or not, I don't know, but because I didn't compare with just regular CoQ10, but this supposedly superior version of CoQ10 was still far inferior to ubiquinol. So if you're going to take it, even though ubiquinol is more expensive, it's not 3 times more expensive. I think it's maybe about 50% more expensive. So I would certainly take it. Much better bang for your buck. So after that, again, those are probably what I would call like first tier supplements as far as your health goes. After that, you used to get into some things like ashwagandha. I think I have that here somewhere that I used to take it. And if you look at the studies on ashwagandha, it's very promising. There's a lot to show. Now, I don't really suffer from anxiety or depression, but if you did, there's a lot of benefits that have been shown in studies on that. But even like other things like cholesterol benefits, VO2 max benefits, there are other cardiac benefits. But I never noticed anything. Now, am I gonna feel some of those effects? No. But it's not a terribly cheap supplement, and I've tried it so many times that I never noticed anything, and it doesn't really rank high enough for me to keep taking it if I don't notice a benefit. Versus like a creatine, it's like, okay, we have so much data on that, maybe I'll still take it anyway, and it's so cheap. Ashwagandha, I'm like, it for some people, if you feel it works, great. I think Brandon Roberts had a review of ashwagandha and showed significant benefits with it. Again, so if you take it, I don't think it's a ridiculous thing to take it. I just don't notice a benefit from it. You can start getting into some things like Ayurvedic medicine, where you're also taking like Arjuna or hawthorn berry, and these are things that have been shown to benefit the heart, but a lot of times these are supplements that only show a benefit when they're tested in a population that has significant detriment to their health. So if you're watching this, you're probably somewhere between 15 and 45 years old. You're probably generally healthy, and you probably don't need much more or even everything that I've just named there. If you're just trying to stay on top of your health and you're generally healthy, just some of these top tier ones is what I'd recommend. And beyond that, if you have specific issues, I think there's reasons to take other things. Taurine has been shown to have significant cardiac benefits. Magnesium, a lot of people are deficient in. So along with vitamin D, magnesium is something that a lot of people are deficient in. So that's something I have here. And if you're even just taking 300 to 500 milligrams per day. There are some people who will mega dose it, but I think if you're taking 300 to 500 milligrams per day, you're probably okay. You're probably also getting some from your food, and that's about all you really need. So that's my list of supplements, guys. There are other ones that I've taken in the past. There are other ones that I take now. Not too many others, that's about it. But there are other ones that I've tried for sure and just dropped off because I didn't feel like I was getting anything from them. There are gonna be some supplements I might have forgotten or other ones that you like. And if there are some that I haven't named that you like, post them down below. Let me know in the comment sections which you take and what benefit you feel you get from them. Because I've certainly read plenty on supplements over the years, and these are the ones that I've kind of parsed out as useful for most people. But other people have their anecdote, and like I said, there's thousands of supplements out there at this point as far as different brands and products. And so you can't try everything, but these are the ones that have a lot of research behind them. So guys, if you like this type of video, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more content like this, and again, comment down below. Certainly helps the algorithm out a lot. So thank you guys.